Welcome to another Roland's Travels, and today we are in the beautiful Wiltshire village of Steeple Ashton. Steeple Ashton, you'll see on the map with the red arrow, is around 4.5 miles from the centre of the county town of Wiltshire, Trowbridge. As you drive in from the Trowbridge side of Steeple Ashton, the first thing you'll notice is this derelict garage. There are still 3 petrol pumps outside, the earliest of which is going back to the year 1930. This was Dartmoor Garage, run by a gentleman called George, Mr. A.G. Moore. What a fascinating place, and what a great find for petrol heads and others interested in the history of motoring. We're going to start our tour of Steeple Ashton by walking along the High Street. So here we have the Methodist Church. The Church of England church is just behind us, just behind the Methodist chapel, I should say, over there. And we'll walk you through the village. I'm going to show you many of the lovely old cottages that you find here in Steeple Ashton. A mixture of new properties tucked in certain areas as well, keeping the village very much alive. So you can see some really old buildings ahead. We'll take a look at those more closely in a little while. First we're going to head into Church Street, take us up to where the church is and also the village hall, as you can see from the sign. So we'll cross over and go over there. And this is what you call an old pavement here, isn't it? The old stones on the floor rather than tarmac, and we can certainly see some age in the properties around here. Looks like some work is being done on the church clock. The scaffolding's up to where the clock is, so we're not going to see the clock today by the looks of it. A very large church for a small village. Steeple Ashton did have its wealth in the day, in the wool trade, which eventually moved through to Trowbridge, just down the road. Let's tell you a little bit about the church. There's been a long-standing church at Steeple Ashton since 1252, possibly earlier. The present church is limestone. It's got a 4-stage west tower, and it's a rebuilding in the late 15th century. The north aisle at the cost of Robert Long, who died in 1501, and the south at the cost of Walter Lucas, who died in 1495. Both were clothiers, and it was clothing and fabric making that brought about the wealth to Steeple Ashton and down the road in Trowbridge. The tower may have been built in the early 15th century. At one time it had a stone spire on top, 93 feet high, making a total height of around 186 feet, that's 57 metres. That's the second highest in Wiltshire after the very tall Salisbury Cathedral. Now the spire was struck by lightning in July 1670. It was repaired and then struck again in October. Now this time it fell down and was not replaced. So we'll go down the lane there in a moment. Firstly, let's just follow this one round the church area just a little bit more. And behind the church is the manor house. That's private through there, so we can't go through there. But you'll see the manor house there. That's virtually 400 years old. Let's just take a look in the churchyard. A bit more of a view of the manor house ahead of us from the view here in the graveyard around the church. There isn't a proper path all the way around actually, which is surprising. I'll tell you a little bit more about the house in a moment. The manor house lying to the northeast of the church was built in 1647 for the Bennett family. This too is built in limestone, the same material as the church. The house and its estate was bought in 1799 by Richard Long of Rood Ashton and remained in the Long family until the 1970s. The last owners being Richard Long, who's the 4th Viscount Long. He died in 2017, and his first wife Margaret, she died in 2016. So we have some sort of crypt down there. So we can actually see the church has got an old sundial there. Figures are still visible. Originally a farm here. Then coming up on our left we have the village hall, much more modern building of course. And some beautiful cottages here, aren't there? Absolutely stunning. There's a glider overhead actually come up from the local airfield, Keyville Airfield, which was used extensively by the RAF in World War II. And this area here is called the Strand. Which we'll just take a walk to the end of. when we get to the end, we'll resume our walk from the junction we came out of. So here, another view of the church. And the entrance here to Manor Farm. It's a very old barn there with the slit windows ahead of us. And that brings us to the end of this lane. So we'll turn around and go back to where we were, and we'll pick up our walk from there. So we're back at the junction from which we came, and we'll go back down to join the high street. That's a little section there we didn't walk through because we went round the lane by the church, and there is the War Memorial. Let's go a bit further on. That was an old shop there, the old post office. Long gone. There is a community shop that's been opened, and in a moment we'll show you the cottages on my left. I'll just turn around and show you those as we get closer to the old lock-up here. And the original market cross type thing as well. We'll show you that. Now, the first element of the village's name, Steeple, may actually come from the fact that the church had a steeple. However, the prefix staple or steeple sometimes indicates that the privilege of holding a market, and a staple or a pole being erected to advertise that fact. Now, indeed, Steeple Ashton was indeed once a market town, having been granted a weekly market in 1266. And here is the market cross to prove it. This is dated 1679, still standing here on the village green. Old cottages down the lane there, and the village pub, the Long's Arms, is actually being renovated at the moment. These old timber frame buildings are certainly magnificent. and just look at the movement that's happened in that property over the years as it leans forward, but still standing, of course. More modern properties down to the rear. And this is the old shop. Which will cross over and give you a better view of the old shop. I'll take a walk down Dark Lane South in a moment. The new village shop is just over there. Say new, it's still in an old building. Amazing, there's been a lot of traffic here through the village today for a Sunday, so quite busy. So here we have the village shop, which is looked after by the community, which is nice. And another beautiful old property here. On the right, Gale's cottage. And then we're coming to the end of the main street here. So we'll take a look at the little lane that we went past earlier in a moment. Let's just go to the end, get a thatched cottage. Quintessentially Old English, isn't it? There's a transport company down there. They've been in the village for many years. And we'll be covering Keyville in a future video, so look out for that one. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell for when we've visited Keyville. I've been able to bring that to you. And again, some modern houses, but nicely designed to fit in with the village just here. Just give you a view of the cottage we walked past from this angle, see more of it. And so we have a well. And that is the old schoolhouse. So let's take a walk down Dark Lane South. Mixture of old and new down here. It's a cul-de-sac, so it doesn't go too far. It comes to an end here. Yep, and this is the end of this lane. Let's go back to the high street. Let's just go this way a moment. So Vicarage Lane is just a short little lane there down through to obviously the vicarage, and then we have some nice cottages along this way too. So let's just take a look at these in this part of Dart Lane. There's a beautiful black and white cottage coming up now on our left. Followed by another one. An amazing amount of old cottages in this village, aren't there? Hundreds of years old. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate your time. Please do subscribe before you go. Click the notification bell and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. It's Roland here, saying goodbye, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.